Welcome to Faith in 5, a weekly video devotional designed to discuss practical spiritual concepts in 5 minutes or less. I'm your host, Mark Vandella. This past fall, I had the opportunity to meet from afar a guy by the name of Jossie Chaco. And I tell you, I met him from afar because I had the opportunity to sit in a crowd and listen to him speak. And I want to tell you a piece of Jossie's story because he started in India, and he actually had a mentally ill dad, and at the time when he was growing up, it totally impacted him. It alienated him from all of his friends and any kids at school. But he left India to go start a business and really have success in business. He moved to Australia, and he was having success. He had grown this business to a point where it was showing up on the Australian Stock Exchange. And then he had an encounter with an 8-year-old boy who was homeless, and it changed everything. Jossie risked everything. He left everything behind to do something about what he saw. And he started this company called Impart Inc. And he has a book that's called Madness, where he talks about how crazy it was that he left behind everything that he had started. That this young boy from India had moved to Australia and then fled all of his success to address the world's needs that could have never been fully addressed. And now that company, Impart Inc., it reaches 6.5 million new people a week. And when he left everything, he didn't know what the reward was going to be. And I tell you his story because when it comes to risk versus reward, he's a pretty good person to learn from. In that message, he says that success in God is measured by the level of surrender we have to Him, not by the achievements we have. See, in 2 Timothy 1:7, it says, God has not given you a spirit of fear, but of love and power and a sound mind. A number of other translations use discipline or good judgment. God has not wired us for this sense of fear that we give into often. And if Jossie would have given into that fear long ago, he never would have experienced this great reward, and the world would be missing out on the reward of his efforts. But he didn't know that at the time. See, he also says that risk is a friend, not a foe. He's learned that through his journey. All of the fear he's faced that he's overcome has paid off 10 times. But we need to take that risk first before we experience the reward. And I'm afraid for my own life, and I'm afraid for all of our lives, that God gives us opportunities regularly. But fear keeps us from actually doing anything about it. So there's a story in the famous book Pilgrim's Progress of a man who gets to the gates of heaven and he knocks on the door. But behind that door is a loud dog barking, and it scares him away. I'm afraid in my life that I have turned down, I've walked away, I've not walked towards opportunities because of the risk associated with them. And I want to change that. I want to do something different about that. And I hold on to that verse in 2 Timothy. I hold on to that whenever I'm afraid. Actually, I teach some public speaking courses and key communication classes. And in that, I always remind people that fear, that butterfly feeling, the thing that makes you say, no, I don't want to do this, right? Public speaking is one of the greatest fears of all people. But I always encourage people that when you have that, you're on the right track. That feeling means that it's important. That feeling of, can I do this? Should I do this? That means you're on to something. And if you can embrace that, if you can learn to push through that and to learn to love that feeling, I think that we'll experience more meaning. We will experience more reward. And I want to leave you with one quote, one thought. This past year, 2016, we lost a number of really influential people in our world, in our culture. And one of those people is Carrie Fisher. She died right at the end of 2016, and she did amazing things for us understanding mental illness. She did amazing things for advancing women's rights. And she has a quote that I think applies perfectly. She says, "Stay afraid, but do it anyway." What's important is the actions that follow. You don't have to wait to be confident. Just do it, and eventually confidence will follow. As you go through this week, again, take a step towards risk. Don't measure the reward against the risk. Trust God enough to take an action on a risk this week and see what follows. God has not created you with a spirit of fear, but of power and love and good judgment. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to follow us each week, click here to subscribe. And if you want to take it a little bit further, click here for discussion materials.